Good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Welcome back to Padfoot Live Get Training. For those of you who don't know me, I'm James. I'm the head trainer here at Padfoot, and with me today is Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney, so I'm James's little 2IC.
Yep, my little helper. Cool. Okay, so guys, what we're going to be talking about this week is quite a hot topic at the moment, that of separation anxiety, with everybody going back home after all the COVID restrictions and so on. There's a lot of dogs, we're seeing a lot of dogs that are suffering, some elements of separation anxiety. So we wanted to give you a few ideas about what you can be doing to really help them and get them back back balanced and on point and happy again, once you go back to normal life. We're going to talk a little bit in our masterclass section about pulling on the lead and what you can do and what you should be doing about that and when that happens. And with our friend Buddy, his trick of the week is less of a trick, it's more just how we would build duration and so on in a stay.
Yep.
So some techniques that we would use for doing that. So first thing we want to talk about today is separation anxiety. So for those of you who don't know what it is, basically it's when your dog is used to you being around. It doesn't matter what age they are. They can be a young puppy. A lot of people got puppies over the recent few months, and or an older dog, and they've just got used to you being around. Dogs are very, very social animals. They're very emotionally intelligent. They thrive on that kind of thing. They're not like cats. They're not loners. So when they experience changes in that kind of dynamic, it's very, very hard for them to adjust. So what we need to do is to help them to adjust to those kind of changes. It'll manifest itself in a whole range of ways. It's very, very individual to the dog.
Depends on the dog.
Exactly,
Sure.
But there's a lot of dogs that sometimes they develop a stomach upset.
Yep.
Sometimes they start behaviours that they haven't behaved before, so stress-related behaviours, fence fighting, barking, excessive barking. All manner of things.
And sometimes stress manifests itself in the obvious ways of a dog kind of shaking or obviously stressed. In a way that we would kind of recognise. But then a lot of times we also need to realise that a stressed dog can also just be that dog who can't settle. They don't have that off switch. That's a really good sign of a dog that's suffering from some stresses.
Exactly. So often we hear from people with those dogs that are causing a nuisance. So they're stressed, they're barking, and so on. So that's when we get called out to come and help. But for the rest of you, I'd still encourage you to look at your dog's behaviour. Look at is it behaving the same as it normally would? Does it appear happy, content? Is it eating well? All of that stuff. And if it isn't, then it could be experiencing some level of discomfort and stress due to separation and anxiety related to that. So what can you do about it? Well, a lot of it is around filling their day. So whatever amount of time they're going to be alone for, you need to give them things that they can do, things that we term enrichment, that they can be doing, to entertain themselves, or give them, some form of stress relief or fun or exercise or whatever while they're out. If you think about it from your own perspective, if I said to you, right, okay, I'm going to put you in this room or in this garden and there's nothing in it, and I'm going to make you stay there for 6 hours.
And you don't know when I'm coming back.
Yeah, you don't know, and then I will, I'll be back at some point, and you just
sit tight.
Yeah, you'll be right. Yeah, you'd probably start feeling a little bit of, cabin fever, a little bit of stress related to that. It's exactly the same. So you've got to think about your dog. You've got to think about their needs. So you've got to think, okay, so how long am I going to be leaving them for? So what do I need to give them? Ultimately, at the base level, you need to give them somewhere comfortable and sheltered to sleep and rest, and some water. That's your base,
bare minimum.
Bare minimum requirements. They must have that. So you've got to think about those things. Make sure they've got plenty of water. Make sure that if they knock it over, so have 2 bowls. So they've got another
one. Or a nice
one.
heavy ceramic bowl.
Yeah, or something like that. Make sure that the place that they've got to sleep is in winter somewhere nice and cosy where they can sort of snuggle up and have a nice rest, or in somewhere nice and somewhere airy
and dry
and raised off the ground and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of what we want them to be actually doing during the day, they have so many. We have so many ways that we need to be fulfilling their needs depending on the amount of time we're out. So if we're out for an hour, I might just give them their antler, deer antler, or something like that. And go, right, there's your bed, there's your water, there's your deer antler. Just chill.
Yep.
I'm only going to be going for a short while. If I'm going to be going for longer than that, I might start thinking, right, okay, I need to give them a couple of things to do. So I may have the deer antler, and I may have a frozen block of something with some treats in it, or some whatever that they can be licking out, working out for a bit. That will gradually kind of melt as it goes through, and then they can get some fun from that. If I'm going to be going out for sort of 4 hours or so, I may be thinking about, right, okay, what are they going to be doing in 4 hours? They're going to rest for a bit. Okay, I need to give them some food enrichment. I need to give them some play. So that's when you're bringing out some Kongs, some toys like that, which you've stuffed full of treats, things that they've got to push around, work with to access the treats from, and all of that.
The sky's the limit with enrichment toys. There's so much you can do with them.
But you've also got to play your individual dog. So if your dog's likes to chew, and that's a good stress release, make sure they've got their antler, but make sure they've also got maybe another couple of chew toys.
Plenty of appropriate things.
And we'll show you a few things in a minute that we sort of sell and use with our clients. They'll give you some ideas. If I'm going out all day, so for 6 hours or whatever, I mean, I'm really planning like a day's worth of activities, for my dog in my absence. And I've got to cover their basic needs. I've got to cover their needs to rest, to eat, to drink, to think, to get exercise. I've got to cover all of those bases. If you think about the perfect day for you, the perfect day for you is probably, I'll have a bit of a lie-in, then maybe I'll go and do some exercise, I'll go for a nice walk somewhere, or...
And James's perfect day is going to be different to my perfect day.
Exactly. And, then I may sit down and chew on my antler for a bit, and, and whatever it is. But, your perfect day, is going to be different, but but one thing that it is going to be is multifaceted. It's not going to be a day of doing...
And one point I think, that's important too is if you don't give your dog these things to do, it's not that they just will sit there and do nothing.
No.
That's when you get dogs that are finding ways to entertain themselves.
Exactly.
So you may think it's annoying that they're digging holes, or they're running along the fence, or they're chewing palm fronds, or they're ripping leaves off the trees, or your favourite plants. But that's the activity that they've found for themselves that's enjoyable and that's helping them just pass that time. So if we want to avoid those destructive behaviours, the best thing we can do is preemptively strike with some enrichment.
But also take that opportunity to read those behaviours. If your dog is digging, for example, then that says, right, okay, my dog likes to dig. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sandpit, or a sand plot or whatever, and I'm going to hide some things in it.
Yes.
And
there is some treats that
and I'm going to teach my dog when I am at home that's where you dig, and so when you dig there, it's good. When you dig anywhere else, bad.
Yeah, and redirected.
And so it's kind of going, right, okay, there's fun stuff hidden. My
right
bone,
in here.
my antler, is hidden in that sandpit. I've got to get in there and find it first. Scatter feeding.
Yes.
If you're going
the dogs
out,
love to sniff.
Yeah, if you're going out for a long day, don't feed them their breakfast in a bowl in the morning. Scatter it all over the backyard.
All over the yard, so it takes them a while to go through and search for it.
Exactly. Again, it means that the meal will probably take them a couple of hours, and they've got all that mental stimulation that goes with it. After that, they'll be more inclined to have a rest.
Oh, yeah.
And then probably, if you're going out for 6 hours, you've actually just covered half of that time just with that one activity.
Because dogs sleep, I think it's something like 16 to 18 hours a day, don't they?
Yeah, something like that.
So your dog, they will be sleeping a lot, but we want to make sure that they're draining themselves out and then sleeping properly.
Exactly. Okay, so let's show you a few things now that we use as part of the enrichment toys and so on, that we often provide to clients, to help with their dogs. Okay, so what have we got first, Courtney?
Awesome. So this is the Soda Pup range. So the main one that they do, guys, are these little cans. So you can see here, the opening on this one's pretty basic. This is the medium size. We have teeny tiny ones all the way up to Great Dane size. Yep. So this one, I mean, very similar opening to like your standard Kongs. Great for freezing full of stuff because it does have that bigger hole. Yep. This is one that I would stuff, like if you're feeding dry food, stuff the kibble in and maybe put some yogurt mixed in or just even some water and freeze it. Yep. It's going to take them hours and hours and hours of working on this to try to get all of that out. And then you've got things where you kind of like up the ante. So this is a cute little frog. but the hole on this one is a little bit different shaped. So it's harder for them to access that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, dogs like Buddy, if I give him something like this, the can, he'd be done pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But something like that, or the Cupcake, which we're actually out of stock, that was really popular, has a smaller hole as well. That'll keep him going for a long time. Yeah. So this is a cute little coffee cup too. James's favourite. Yeah,
yeah. I like the coffee cup.
So
I get confused a lot with the coffee cup. I keep putting it in my mouth.
But with these guys, like, honestly, so like I said, with kibble, you can freeze the kibble inside of anything. If you're feeding raw food or wet food, stuff that inside. Yeah. Little bits of fruit and veggies with some yogurt or some peanut butter. God, I mean, the sky's the limit. Anything that's dog safe and you can get in here, go for it. I mean, it's a really simple, little easy one. So like James was saying, if you're just going out for an hour or something, maybe just take like a spoonful of peanut butter and rub it around the inside of one of these toys. That would probably be enough to keep them going for a while. But then if you're going to be gone all day, you might freeze one full of food so that they can keep going back to it, and it's going to take them time.
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, variety is the spice of life, as we know, and it's exactly the same for our dogs as it is for us.
And we have the grenade too.
Oh, and we have the grenade, which is another one of my favourite ones. I love throwing that from my boys. It's
a good one for throwing.
Yeah, it's great. So it's exactly the same for our dogs. Yeah, you need to think about how long am I leaving them for? How many things do I need to give them? Older dogs, or more placid, less dynamic dogs will obviously need less things to do than a very, very sort of dynamic breed.
Yes.
I mean, with my spaniels, for example, I need to give them plenty of options.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Whereas Buddy probably sleeps most of the day when I leave him at home.
Exactly. The spaniels will destroy everything if I don't, because they just got that sort of brain, that sort of drive, that sort of energy.
Yeah.
But obviously with those two, because they're scent-working dogs, for me, hiding stuff randomly around the garden and in some pretty difficult places where maybe they've got to climb up some bricks and to reach a high place.
Safe spots, like of course. But
of course. And so you need to teach them how to do that sort of behaviour. You can't just set up an obstacle course and expect them to work it out. But once they know, then they can be.
100%.
The other thing, for those of you who are based up on the sunny coast, and this is something that we do for a lot of our clients at the moment, is we actually have a half-hour play and train service. So that involves basically one of us, generally Courtney, coming around to your house during the day. So if you're going to be out for a lengthy period of time, or if your dog is not used to being out, or if you work shifts, or anything like that, then Courtney can come round, spend half an hour or an hour if you've got two dogs or whatever. Playing with your dogs, teaching them a few things.
Feed them their dinner if they need to be fed.
Top up the water, do all of that sort of stuff. So you basically, if that's something that's helpful to you, and you're based here on the sunny coast, then you can book that in through the website padfoot.com.au.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. The next thing on the list. So we went on a bit there. 13 minutes on that one. Wow. We always think it's going to be quick, but anyway. Next one, pulling. Courtney, what do you think?
Awesome. So pulling on the lead, guys, this is a really common issue that we come across, and I actually read a crazy statistic the other day from Guide Dogs Australia that only 30% of dogs in Australia are getting walked every day. Wow. So, I mean, that's a little bit crazy. And I'm not saying you need to be out there every goddamn day, because sometimes, like we're tired or we're sick or we have stuff on. But, I mean, majority of the days, especially for you guys with younger dogs and working breeds, we should be trying to get them out there. Yep. And a lot of the times, the reason why people are avoiding these walks is because it's really unpleasant to be out there with their dog, because it's pulling like crazy. That's something that 100% can be worked on. Like James and I have seen crazy huge dogs pulling like crazy, work it out and figure out and get on the same page as their owner, and they get to have these lovely walks. And it's so nice for us too. So what you're going to do is, the basic idea of what you're going to try to teach your dog is that if they have any pressure on their neck, that they're applying on their neck, right? So if they go out and they hit the end of that lead, everything stops. You don't move forward, there's nothing cool happening, they can't get to that scent, they can't get to whatever they're trying to get to, it just stops.
Yeah, you teach them to avoid pressure.
Yeah. So what happens is they're going to get to the end of that lead, you're going to stop, they're going to go, hang on, and they're going to look back at you like, what's going on? The second they reorientate to you, you want to hit them with that yes. As soon as they hear that yes, most dogs, knowing the word, of course, are going to run straight in for their food. Yeah. Then what you're going to do is you're going to reset them and put them into that healing exercise that all of the clients that come through Padfoot would have learned from James and I. So what we're doing essentially is we're teaching them, no, you're not going to hit the end of the lead. And you can say no when they hit the end of the lead if you'd like to, just to make it even more clear. But what they're going to quickly understand is that if I hit the end of the lead, I stop going forward. I stop getting to go on this walk that I'm really, really, really enjoying. Forward motion is something that dogs, it's just instinctually enjoyable for them. They like
absolutely.
just driving forward.
But they soon learn. I mean,
once that stops and they go, oh, okay, so I don't get that if I hit the end of the lead, but then if I come back, we start again.
And for those instances, I do this with my dogs when I was teaching them, for those dogs that actually hit the end of the lead and then maintain that pressure, they're kind of pulling, they're trying to, even if it's a strong pull or whether it's even just a gentle, you know, pressure in that direction, I will simply start just moving backwards, very slowly, myself. So it's, you know, so what I'm teaching the dog is that, you know, when pressure comes on, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So pressure means stop. But also, if you add pressure, that means reverse. Which again, is
go
not,
with
is
the
not,
pressure, not pull through it.
It's not exactly. It's not what they're wanting.
No, exactly.
And it's interesting. I wasn't aware of this for quite a long time. But the way they train racehorses.
Okay, here we go. Interesting.
So with racehorses, so you know, with a normal horse, you know, you loosen the reins to say go, and you pull back on the reins to say stop. With racehorses, it's the opposite. So apparently they
similar to tracking dogs.
So they tighten means go, loosen means stop.
Interesting.
Anyway, little tip.
But yeah, it's just a good example of how we can communicate through that pressure, guys. And it's similar to all the words we use and the sounds we use. Is we're conditioning them to have a meaning that we give it, right? So you could just as easily condition, like James is saying, that pressure is a good thing. If you, every single time you let your dog go and greet another dog or play with another dog, you let them pull up to it, or every time they want to go sniff that tree, they drag you to that tree and then they go sniff it, that becomes a rewarding thing.
Exactly. They're learning that if I apply pressure to my to my collar,
I get where I want.
And I pull, and then I get to the reward, whether it's another dog to play with, or it's a tree to sniff, whatever it is. So what we've got to do is be very, very diligent about that.
Yes.
And it means
and consistent.
as well. And consistent. And it means that when you're teaching your dog to heel, or to walk nicely on lead, whether they're just in your general vicinity or whether they're actually at your heel, because there's two different things. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, loosely walking and heeling.
Basically, you need to be really understanding that until they know this, you are never taking them for a walk. It's a training session. Until they got this, you're not going to go out, like put your sneakers on, go out for a nice long,
do nice long,
get your exercise as well as your dog.
You're going to do 500 metres in about half an hour.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a lot of mental drain for your dog.
If that. So, and that's what we tell people, until your dog knows how to do this, that's just the situation.
And they will be tired, probably more tired, because this is another point I wanted to make about enrichment, is I find that a lot of owners really heavily focus on that physical enrichment, which of course is important. If you're going to be out for the day, get your dog out, go for a run, go for a walk, whatever it is before you leave them for the day. But we often also hear of dogs who go to the dog park for 2 or 3 hours a day, but they're still crazy when they get home. Some dogs can just go and go and go and go and go. A lot of the working dogs are like that. They can just run and run and run and run, and you probably will never exhaust them, right? Unless they're out actually working. But as soon as you start bringing in some of that mental enrichment, so even if it's a training session for half an hour, making them use their brain and think about how they're going to earn their reward, offering them a puzzle, doing that, all of this stuff, going for a walk and teaching them how to walk properly, that mental stuff really drains them so quickly. They'll pass out, you'll see it. You wouldn't think, but it really works.
And the final point on that is, again, this is why we prefer and use slip leads. It's simple. It is because there's two main reasons. I've covered this in previous things, but very, very quickly. Number one, there's no metal parts that can fail on you at the beach, like there is in a clip and that kind of thing, because it's just all some knotted things. But with these, because it goes around their neck, ultimately what happens is if they pull too much on it, it tightens. But it's nice and soft, it's not going to hurt them.
And they're in control of that pressure too.
But when they back off it, exactly as Courtney said, they're in control of it, it loosens off. So again, we can use that as a tool to accentuate that whole, when pressure's on, then that means stop, pressure's off means go. That's harder to do if you've got them on a normal flat collar.
It is.
Or anything like that.
And a harness.
Yeah, and the harness, very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any questions on that, put them in the comments. We'll do our best to answer. Right, Buddy's turn.
Yes, awesome.
You ready, Bud? Okay.
Oh, he's ready.
He's ready, okay. So what we're going to be doing now is just demonstrating basically how we, in class and with our dogs, teach them duration in the sit stay. So with a lot of dogs, we know how to make them stay. We can kind of go, oh, stay, and they might stay for a second or two. How do you build that up into a really solid behaviour that ultimately, when you tell them to stay, they're not going to move from that stay until you release them, even if that's half an hour, an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. All right, so what we're going to do today, guys, is we've already introduced you in past videos, and if you haven't watched this, I recommend you go and find our video on markers. So we've already explained to you guys the idea of a release marker and communicating to our dogs, yes, you've done exactly what I've asked you to do, here's your reward. What we're going to be working with today is what we call a bridge. So it's how we communicate to our dogs while they're doing an exercise that they're doing the right thing, but they're not done yet. So the sit stay is a perfect example of how we use that. So I'll grab Buddy out in a second and I'll show you guys. I like to use good. So anyone who's talked to me about markers, I would have said I am not a fan of using good as a release marker. Reason being is we do use it so casually throughout the day. We walk past our dogs and we tell them how good they are, how much we love them, all of that. And yes means you owe your dog food, right? It's a very specific word and it has that high value that we want to keep. So good, I like to use as that keep going command. So I put him in a sit, I tell him to stay, and then to communicate to him that he's doing what I like but he's not done yet, I'm going to go, good, give him a reward. Good, give him a reward. And as he kind of goes on and we advance through the exercise, he's going to get less of those reminders, less of that kind of those hints throughout the way. But in the beginning with you guys starting, like you can just stand right in front of your dog, put him in a sit stay, take like one step back and just feed him treats. Good, good, good. And then release them on that, 3-second mark, whatever it is. But it helps them to just understand the meaning of it a little bit. So I'll just get straight into it a little bit. I'll take Buddy back with me so you can see us. Buddy, come. All right, so he's already sitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys like the base level of how you would start this. Buddy, stay. Good. 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 Yes. So when I give him that yes, I'm encouraging him to break that position so that he can come get his reward. So I'm making it really clear to him, good, you stay there, I'm going to keep giving you treats, there's more and more opportunities for reward here. Yes is, you're done, do whatever you'd like. He doesn't do whatever he'd like, he just stares at me for more food, but that's alright. So then what you're going to do is sit, stay, you might go all the way back here. Good. Come in and bring him a treat. Wait a few seconds. Good. He gets another little treat. Yes. Awesome. So that's a really good example, guys. Hopefully of how you're going to start building in the meaning of that bridge cue to your dog.
Yep, no, that was great.
Did you like that? Anything to add?
No, I think that was really good. But as Courtney said right at the beginning, it's very, very clear to get your own shit together on this one. Make sure you understand your markers and your bridges and so on. Make sure your dog does as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so make sure that you've started off early and you're doing very much when you're loading your marker, as we call it, is very much eye contact. Good, 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 good,
nice,
good,
easy wins.
good. Yes. And make sure you really exaggerate those things. And also, when you're doing these exercises, when you've got back to a reasonable distance, if you say good and then they raise from that,
that's wrong.
That's wrong. You need to go back, reset them, go again. So it's probably worth waiting in the initial stages as you step back into them before you say good in that position, rather than saying it when you're still out here or in the middle.
It's a progression, guys. You need to work with your dog wherever they are, especially with the stay exercise. That's one where dogs either click with it or they kind of struggle for a bit. Yeah.
So you just need to be as clear with yourself and as clear with your dog as you possibly can be. Okay. Any questions on that? Again, please do ask. Right. Okay. I think that's us done for this week. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next Saturday, same time, same place. here on Padfoot Live. Get training. Take care. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.